What's going on, everybody? I hope you're enjoying your early Thursday afternoon so far. This is NYG Jeffy T85 here, and I'm just going to talk about some of the quotes from Giants general manager Joe Schoen as he met the media today, and the Giants get ready for their voluntary workouts starting this afternoon. Who has not shown up to voluntary workouts so far, as well as what players are at voluntary workouts, and some of the quotes that he said about the NFL draft, about Saquon Barkley, Dexter, Lawrence, etc. So, first I'll start out with the players that have so far not been noticed attending voluntary workouts. So far, the Giants have said that there's 7 players right now that have not been identified to be at voluntary workouts so far. And those players are wide receiver Jadon Mickens, offensive lineman Mark Lewinsky and Solomon Kinley, and linebackers Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown, as well as cornerbacks Aaron Robinson and Amani Oruwariye. They're the 7 players that have not right now been identified at these first offseason workouts that started this week. A couple of players that were initially said to not be there are in fact at the workouts, and that is offensive lineman Evan Neal and Jack Anderson. They are both at practice right now, so that's a good sign that the Giants pretty much have a pretty good strong turnout at these workouts right now for the team, which I'm very happy about, because you sometimes get a lot of players that don't want to show up to voluntary workouts because A, they're voluntary, and B, maybe they would rather work out on their own at their own locations, wherever they live, or if they want to work out at a place they're more comfortable with instead of working out at the facility over here with the Giants at Quest Diagnostics Center. Now, in terms of what Joe Schoen has to say about the draft, Giants general manager Joe Schoen said that they have viable candidates in-house to play the center position, and that Schoen seems content with what the Giants have at center. That could obviously just be Giants GM talk. That could just be general manager talk right there to say, well, we're fine at center. We're content. We don't need to worry about upgrades. We think we like the guys on here on the roster. We know. Anybody that knows general manager talk knows this is pretty much, some of it could be valid, but I guarantee a lot of it is he doesn't want to throw his cards out on the table and let every other GM knows what he wants to unfold on the table, and if he's trying to work with a pair of aces or something. So Joe Schoen is pretty much just letting everybody know right now that he is going into this at the moment pretty much saying that the Giants are content right now what they're saying at center, but we know for a fact this team is going to be going into the NFL draft, and they're going to be looking to upgrade at that center position right now. Because, let's just be honest, the Giants need a young center to build around. I mean, the guys on the roster right now, you could say J.C. Hausenauer, Joshua Azudu, Jack Anderson, Shane Lemieux, Ben Bredesen. They all have experience playing center or played center in their previous with the NFL, or if they played in college. But at the same time, this team right now needs to get themselves a true young center to build this offensive line around going forward. So, while I understand Joe Schoen, what he's saying out there, I do believe some of this is just pretty much a smokescreen for what the Giants are probably going to do going into the NFL draft. We all know this. If you know what the Giants and Joe Schoen is all about, he's going to throw out smoke screens to make you believe one thing, and he's going to go out there and do something completely different. So while he might like some of the players on the roster, guarantee he's going to want to get his own guys in here. Joe Schoen said, in a perfect world, there would be no salary cap and they could pay everybody, making them all happy. But he adds that you have to have a separate business and the human element, which is absolutely right. You can't pay everybody the type of money that they might be looking for. It is a business, and business always dictates that you can't get everybody the type of contract they want. Case in point, he's mostly talking about Saquon Barkley and Dexter Lawrence right now. Joe Schoen said he would give up the future draft picks in the deal for the right player. So that pretty much is saying, and I do actually believe this is true. I don't believe this is just a smokescreen. I believe if there is the right player that is sitting there for the Giants to go out there and acquire, a.k.a. what they did with Darren Waller, they would do it, and they would give up future draft capital to get a player who is maybe not too over the hill or is young enough that you can continue to develop in your system going forward and can help elevate your team offensively and defensively going into the future. Joe Schoen also said that he does not think you can go wrong in taking a good football players, and he doesn't want to pigeonhole himself in saying that he'd never take a certain position in the first round. pretty much saying that he's going to go with best available player, and he doesn't want to pigeonhole himself with just taking one player at that certain position because of the fact it might have to lean more towards a need more than it does lean towards a want. That's the one thing right there when it comes to Joe Schoen, is that he doesn't want to pigeonhole himself and just say, well, I'm going to take this position and that's it. I'm going to go this position because it fills a need. I'm going to go this position because it's what the team needs the most coming out of this NFL free agency. Absolutely not. You have got to go by what is best for the team. And if the best player available is a position that maybe you're not as weak at, but it's going to help the long-term future of your franchise, you make the pick immediately and you go up there and you make the selection. Schoen says he's not against taking a running back in round one, in general, not specific to the Giants or their plans, and says good football players are good football players. That should be normal GM talk. It doesn't matter who's on your football team. If you can get yourselves the best football player coming out of this NFL draft, no matter what the position is, including running back and, yes, quarterback, you go out there and you make the decision what's best for your franchise going forward. That's just the smartest thing to do as a general manager, and you don't, once again, want to pigeonhole yourself just going for more need than going for what could be a good long-term player for your future, because you have to remember, you have to supplement picks on your team and not just go with guys that just because you have somebody that's already established player there, you need to go and get yourself more future talent at that position, because it could end up helping you going into the present as well as in the future. Joe Schoen also says he doesn't know what Saquon's plans are when it comes to the rest of this offseason, training camp, preseason, and obviously week one of the regular season in early September. Negotiation tactics. That's all it pretty much is. I mentioned this last week in my video that I did. It's all negotiation tactics right now between Joe Schoen and the New York Giants. They're not going to rush to anything right now. They're not going to hold their cards on the table and put their hand out there. They're going to let the process play out. If Joe Schoen and Saquon Barkley come to terms on some type of deal, then it's going to work out in the best for the organization. But if they think it's best to have him play on the franchise tag, that's exactly what they'll do. And asked if he's optimistic Saquon Barkley will be on the team this season, Joe Schoen says, you have to ask him. I don't know what his plan is. He said that he hasn't talked to Saquon in 3 weeks. It's giving you a vague approach right now, which is understandable. It's understandable why he would say that, because he hasn't spoken with Saquon in 3 weeks. But remember, there's still plenty of time for both sides to get back to the negotiating table before July 18th deadline and work out a long-term deal. It's all negotiation tactics right now between Barkley, his agents, and Joe Schoen and the Giants. We'll have to see how this plays out as we keep going into the future. Schoen says that the team is happy with Tyrod Taylor as their backup quarterback, but he adds that they will sign another quarterback for camp. That's obvious. You want at least to have 3 or 4 quarterbacks on the roster going into the beginning of this NFL season. So that is not anything that's breaking news. It's like not earth-shattering news or anything that you're going to hear. This is expected right now. So to say that this isn't going to be happening, you'll be nuts. Of course they're going to want to get another quarterback in here just to have at least that, luxury of having another quarterback. God forbid if Tyrod Taylor or, crossing your fingers, Daniel Jones ends up getting hurt during preseason, regular season, etc. You want to have a third quarterback on the roster that will get acclimated to your system and it'll be an emergency quarterback on the team. Joe Schoen said that Giants have a better grasp on the type of front seven players Wink Martindale wants on defense this time around. Obviously, with some of the players they've acquired in free agency, whether it be Raheem Nunez-Roches, whether it be Bobby Okereke, obviously some of the players they have coming back from injury, and DJ Davidson and Darian Beavers, some of the players that they signed during the offseason, Gerard Davis, who they had on the roster late last season, he's now part of the squad, so obviously, Wink Martindale, who's coming back now after flirting with the head coaching job of the Indianapolis Colts, he has a better idea of what he wants with his front seven defensive players, and Joe Schoen knows, and the Giants know they have a better grasp on the type of players when it comes to that situation going forward. So on the terms of Dexter Lawrence now, Joe Schoen pretty much says that the Giants and Dexter Lawrence have had good dialogue when it comes to a long-term extension for the team going forward. And it says that the team and the Giants are pretty much still negotiating with Dexter Lawrence on a long-term deal. But he also tells about that they're deep into draft talks right now. They're deep into draft discussions, and maybe talks for Dexter Lawrence have to be put to the side just a little bit and maybe not be at the forefront because the Giants right now are in the mode of taking care of their draft business right now, going into the NFL draft that's going to begin a week from today. Joe Schoen also says that some of the top 30 players that visited were used to potentially eliminate players from their draft board, bringing in a bunch of these players from the top 30. So pretty much he just did that just to see what players he might have good interest in and what players might be eliminated off his draft board so far. And Schoen also says that Giants are open to all variations of trades so long as it benefits the roster, which means trading up, trading down, or trading for a player. Pretty much, Joe Schoen is leaving the book wide open for the Giants to do anything that is necessary for what's best for this team going into the NFL draft. And Joe Schoen also says that they are confident a player that they like will be there at 25. I do believe that too. There's so much talent coming out of this NFL draft, so many quality players that are going to be there at around pick number 25, whether it's the cornerback position, whether it's the safety position, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive line, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, whatever it is, interior defensive lineman. The Giants are going to have their pick of the litter of what player they're going to want that's coming out of this NFL draft. And Joe Schoen is confident, as are most Giant fans, that he's going to get himself a quality player at pick number 25. That's if the Giants end up staying at pick number 25 when we go forward. And Joe Schoen always says it's not always what you see on the film when he talks about the prospects that are coming out, but he says what they spend so much time with the players. So it has a lot to do with the relationship that you build with some of these young prospects and players, and not just what you see on the film going forward. So that has a lot to do with things as well. So, I mean, it's not just about film work. It's not just about what you see on that part of the thing, but it's also the relationships you build with these players coming out of the NFL draft going forward. So that's just some of the quotes that's come out from Joe Schoen during his press conference this afternoon when he talks about the New York Giants and subjects around Saquon Barkley, around Tyrod Taylor, Dexter Lawrence, draft prospects, trading up, trading down, trading for a player, what he was looking for a player number 25, if he's just looking at a player just due to film work or more. That's all the news you want to hear coming out of Joe Schoen's press conference today for the New York Giants, as well as the players that are right now attending the first day of offseason workouts for the New York Giants today, with at least 7 players that have not attended there, being those names once again: wide receiver Jadon Mickens, offensive lineman Mark Lewinsky and Solomon Kinley, linebackers Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown, and cornerbacks Aaron Robinson and Amani Oruwariye. So please hit that like button if you haven't already, and give a sub to NYG Jeffy T85. For more news, updates, and chatter surrounding the New York Giants, turn on the bell for notifications. The next video is short, dropping on the channel surrounding the New York Giants. And you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about Joe Schoen's press conference and his quotes that came out of his press conference this afternoon, 1 week away from the NFL draft, amongst all the subjects he talked about, including players that are in attendance and players that are not in attendance for offseason workouts: Saquon Barkley, Dexter Lawrence, trading up, down, and training for a player in the NFL draft, as well as what he's looking for in NFL prospects coming out of this NFL draft, and if it's more about the type of players that he's looking for due to film work, and if it's more about the type of players that he's looking for due to the type of ongoing relationships that he builds with these players coming in for top 30 NFL meetings for some of these players with the NFL draft coming on April 27th, 2023 in Kansas City, Missouri. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Take it easy, and let's go New York Football Giants. As always, together blue, everyone.